Page 6, Musette. You can read about it up above. This is sort of like a dance, but you're not dancing to it. It's the mood of the piece, but that has to do with the interpretation of it, which we'll get to later. We got to get through all this mechanical nonsense first, then we can get into the piece and start interpreting it. It's just that I like to look pieces over first, and I like to get what kind of a piece is this? Is this a dance? Is this a sacred piece? Is this a lyrical piece? Is this a cradle song? Is this sweet? Whatever. It's a horror piece? I don't know. So this is sort of like a dance type thing. 2/4 time with 2 sharps. We're in the key of D major. You ought to be doing scales. When you reach this level, you should be doing your scales and arpeggios as far as I'm concerned. You should be doing the intermediate level. 2 octaves up and down. Scale, do the D major scale and the B minor scale. They both have 2 sharps. And they're arpeggios. 2 octaves up and down. And each day when you sit down to practice, I would encourage you to do the scale and arpeggios first for whatever key signature you've chosen for that day. Now if you're new to this and scales and all that, then stick with it for a week and then you can go to another key signature. So if you're ready, do this D major scale and it's arpeggios, and the B minor scale and it's arpeggios. Oh. Right hand first. 1, 2, 1, 2 E-enda, 1 E-enda, 2. It helps a little bit that the left hand's going to have 8th notes. That can help keep the beat for us. Well, let's do it without it for now. The problem is when you go from the 2nd measure to the 3rd, because you're here and then you got to go to here. There's no rest or nothing. There's 16th notes. I mean, it's that quick. Know where you are and where you need to be and which finger's involved. If you have to, you practice that. Both hands are moving. That makes it even more interesting. So again, at the beginning, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. You do as slow as you gotta go because the beat's gotta be steady once you get it. And then last line here. Reach up. Thumb, cross over. So I'm figuring in a way I can do it all legato. Isn't this wonderful? We'll add the staccatos later. Right now, when you're figuring out fingering, play it legato. Top of page 7. Doesn't this sound wonderful? Here you can go ahead and lift, come down. Lift up. There's a D sharp there. And at the 2nd measure there on the 2nd line, I recommend a 5th finger on that E. Here, 5th finger, because that makes it easier to reach the G sharp. 4th finger on the D. 3rd finger on the C sharp. I'm in this position. And here, reach down, 2, 1. I played it all legato. Then I can cross over with 3rd finger. So that 2nd line, let's look at that again. I want it all legato with the fingers if I can. 5, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if that's a stretch for you, then maybe you need to use 3rd finger on the A. And then 3rd finger. And then we're back to what we were doing before. That's fingering I suggest. Left hand, just broken octaves. Just transfer weight from one side to the other. And right now you play them legato. Keep them steady and then go into 3rd measure. You can cross over here if you want. Because the right hand has that nasty move. So if you can get the left hand a little easier, that helps you focus more on the right hand. Thumb on that here. So you're ready for the octaves again. And the last 2 measures are the 2nd line there here. And here, either 3rd or 2nd finger on the D. So if you repeat it, you got to go down here. But you can lift up and do that. It's just you're closer to it than if you used here. You gotta, it's further. So I used one of these fingers so I don't have to go as far. And if I go on, this puts me in position for the A. Makes it a little easier. And then we're doing these A's, and at the end of the line there you have E's. You come in here. You're doing that for a while until page 7, second line, second measure. Don't forget the C sharp. And either second or third finger on the A. Second finger is fine if you can reach it, because now we're in position to go on. Put the hands together. So we're still playing legato now. Okay, let's go on the last line here. This out as slow as you got to go and get rid of the hesitations and get the rhythm, and then once you have that you can start speeding it up a little bit, and then we can add the articulation, a nice light wrist staccato, and the right hand is slurs and some staccatos. Short staccatos here. That's not staccato. Let's go down the last line here. Now that E is not staccato, so hang on to it. You're just lifting up between the slurs. That's slur, that's staccato, and now it's both hands. Now those A's are not staccato. So get these articulations down, if you have to, one hand at a time for a while until you can get that, because the different hands are not always the same. Then we add the dynamics. Starts out soft. That's the melody, it's the right hand. Keep the left hand out of the way. This is loud. Not super loud, just loud. Not soft. Soft, that's the right hand. The left hand is very soft. Now you're loud, and that's the right hand. The left hand can get a little louder, but keep it under. Now you're going to echo that, it's soft. Loud, soft, loud, soft, loud. You get the idea of these dynamics. It's called terrace dynamics. It's where you go from a loud to a soft, or a different dynamic all of a sudden. You don't blend into it. It just happens. Now in some music, it depends on the style of the music. This style will do terrace dynamics. Later on, back in the 1800s, a lot of times when it's not terrace dynamics, when you see that, you'd actually crescendo or decrescendo into it. You wouldn't necessarily terrace it. Then you speed it up to however fast you think it should go, but it's got to be accurate and controlled. That's more important than speed. make sure you repeat these. Do the repeats as they're marked. Don't skip them. Sometimes when I'm practicing it, I might skip it, but when I'm polishing it up, getting ready to perform a piece, I always put in those repeats. It's got to be second nature. You have to be in the habit of repeating each time. And if you don't practice the repeats, chances are you'll forget it and go on. The people listening to you aren't enjoying it very much. They'll be glad you went on, but never mind them. You just do what you're supposed to do. And then the third line down. See, the idea here is the contrast. We want this actually to be fairly legato in the right hand, but now it's staccato. You get the idea? It's lots of just kind of keeps them bouncing along. That's my impression of this piece. Have fun with it.